New Year's Eve. It's supposed to be the loudest night of the year. We surround ourselves with friends, music, and fireworks, counting down the seconds to a fresh start. But there is a terrifying side to this holiday that nobody talks about. The noise is a distraction. While you are looking up at the sky watching the colors explode, you stop paying attention to what is happening on the ground. The loud bangs of the fireworks are the perfect camouflage for breaking glass. The cheering crowds mask the sound of footsteps on your porch. Tonight, I'm going to share 2 true stories that happened on December 31st. These aren't stories about ghosts or monsters. These are stories about real human beings who used the chaos of the holiday to hunt their victims. So, before the ball drops tonight, go check your locks one last time. You might not be as alone as you think. This took place 3 years ago. I was 23 at the time, living with my parents in a quiet suburb just outside of Chicago. Usually, our neighborhood is dead silent, but on New Year's Eve, it turns into a war zone of illegal fireworks. My parents had been invited to a block party a few streets over. I was supposed to go, but a migraine had been killing me all day, so I decided to stay back. I told them to go have fun, locked the front door behind them, and collapsed onto the living room couch. By 11:30 p.m., my headache had faded, but the noise outside was getting worse. It sounded like explosions going off every 10 seconds. Bang, crackle, boom. I was scrolling through social media, trying to ignore the noise, when I got thirsty. I got up and walked into the kitchen at the back of the house. Now, our kitchen has these large sliding glass doors that look out into the backyard. Beyond the yard, there's just a dense patch of woods and a creek. I was filling a glass of water at the sink, staring out into the pitch-black yard. I couldn't see anything, just my own reflection in the glass. Then, a massive firework went off right above the house. For a split second, the entire backyard was lit up in bright green light. And that's when I saw him. Standing right at the edge of the tree line was a silhouette, a tall figure wearing a dark, heavy coat. He wasn't looking up at the sky. He wasn't watching the fireworks. He was standing perfectly still, facing the glass doors, facing me. The light faded and the yard plunged back into darkness. My heart hammered against my ribs. I dropped the water glass into the sink. I stood there, paralyzed, squinting into the dark, waiting for another flash of light. I told myself, it's just a neighbor cutting through the woods, or maybe a tree stump that looked like a person. I tried to rationalize it, but deep down, I knew what I saw. The posture was too rigid, too predatory. I backed out of the kitchen and went into the hallway, away from the windows. I sat on the bottom step of the stairs, listening. But it was useless. The fireworks were constant. Bang, pop, whistle. 11:50 p.m., 10 minutes to midnight. I was just starting to calm down when I felt a vibration in the floorboards. It was subtle. Then, I heard a sound that didn't fit. It came from the basement. It wasn't a boom. It was a sharp, shattering crash. I froze. My brain tried to tell me it was just a loud firework echoing in the window wells. But then I heard the second sound. Crunch, crunch. It was the unmistakable sound of heavy boots stepping on broken glass. Someone had smashed the basement window. And because of the fireworks outside, I hadn't heard the glass break until they were already inside. I grabbed the only weapon I could find, a heavy metal baseball bat from the coat closet. I crept toward the basement door. It was closed, but not latched. I put my ear against the wood. I held my breath. On the other side of the door, I could hear breathing. Heavy, wet breathing. Someone was standing right there on the top step, waiting. Then very slowly, the doorknob began to turn. I watched the brass knob rotate to the right, The lock clicked. Adrenaline took over. I didn't try to be a hero. I didn't swing the bat. I turned and sprinted for the front door. I fumbled with the deadbolt, my hands shaking so violently I almost dropped the keys. Behind me, I heard the basement door creak open and heavy footsteps charging down the hallway. I threw the front door open and ran out into the snow in my socks. I didn't stop running until I reached the neighbor's house where my parents were. I pounded on their door, screaming, until they opened it. Police arrived within 10 minutes. They swept the house with guns drawn. The intruder was gone. He had escaped out the back door. But here's the part that keeps me awake at night. The police found muddy footprints leading from the basement, up the stairs, and into the kitchen. He hadn't just come up from the basement when I heard him. The tracks showed that he had been in the kitchen before I went downstairs. He had been standing in the dark corner of the kitchen, watching me while I was filling my water glass. He had only retreated to the basement when he realized I had seen him in the yard. On the counter, right where I had been standing, lay a 10-inch butcher knife taken from our drawer. He had been standing inches away from me, armed, while I stared out the window. This next story happened on New Year's Eve, 2019. It was supposed to be a romantic night out for me and my girlfriend, Sarah. We had spent the evening at a friend's cabin about an hour north of the city. We left around 1:30 a.m. to head home. The weather had turned nasty. A full-blown blizzard was kicking up. Visibility was near zero. As we got onto the main highway, we hit a massive traffic jam. A drunk driver had caused a pileup miles ahead. We sat there for 20 minutes without moving an inch. I pulled up the GPS on my phone. It showed a faster route, a gray line cutting through a state forest reserve. It would save us 40 minutes. Sarah was hesitant. "It looks like a dirt road," she said. "What if we get stuck?" I laughed it off. I had a 4-wheel drive SUV. I told her we'd be fine. I just wanted to get home. I took the exit and turned onto the back road. Immediately, the streetlights vanished. It was just us, the snow, and the wall of trees. For the first 15 minutes, it was fine, but the further we went, the narrower the road got. The snow was untouched, no tire tracks. We were the only ones out there. Then the vibe changed. The trees seemed to close in. Sarah noticed that our cell service had dropped to no signal. She stopped talking. The silence in the car was heavy. We came around a sharp, blind curve, and I slammed on the brakes. Lying directly across the middle of the road was a body. My car skid to a halt about 30 feet away. It looked like a woman. She was lying face down, wearing a thin windbreaker, completely inappropriate for the freezing weather. Sarah gasped. "Oh my God, is she dead? We have to help her." She immediately unbuckled her seatbelt and reached for the door handle. But something in my gut screamed no. It wasn't a logical thought. It was a primal instinct. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I grabbed Sarah's arm. "Don't open the door," I whispered. "What are you doing?" she yelled. "She could be freezing to death." I pointed at the body. "Look at her shoes. They're clean." The woman was lying in muddy slush, but the soles of her sneakers were bright white. She hadn't walked here. She had been placed here. And she wasn't shivering. I locked the car doors. I flashed my high beams at the body. "If you can hear me, get up!" I shouted through the glass. She didn't move. Then I checked the rearview mirror, and my blood ran cold. Behind us, emerging from the tree line where we had just passed, were 3 men. They were dressed in dark winter gear, faces covered with ski masks. They weren't carrying flashlights. They were carrying baseball bats and tire irons. They started sprinting toward the car. Sarah screamed, "Go! Go!" I threw the car into reverse, but the wheel spun on the ice. The men were getting closer. I could see the steam of their breath in the red glow of my taillights. Finally, the tires caught traction. I shot backward, fishtailing wildly. As soon as the car started moving, the unconscious woman on the road suddenly sprang to life. She jumped up with the agility of an athlete. She stood in the middle of the road, staring at us with a blank, emotionless face. I managed to turn the car around and floored it. I drove 80 miles per hour on that icy road, risking a crash just to get away. We didn't stop until we reached a gas station on the main highway. We called the police from the station landline. They sent a cruiser out to check the location. An hour later, the officer came back. He looked pale. He told us the road was empty. No body, no men. But he found something else. Hidden in the ditch, just a few feet from where the woman was lying, was a pile of broken glass and a tree trunk dragged across the ditch, ready to be pushed onto the road to block a car completely. They had set up a kill zone. The woman was the bait, the men were the muscle, and the tree was the trap. If we had gotten out of the car, or if my tires had spun for just 5 seconds longer, we wouldn't be here. New Year's Eve is a night of new beginnings, but for predators, it is a night of opportunity. The noise hides their movements. The empty roads become their hunting grounds. So this year, when the clock strikes 12, celebrate, have fun, but keep one eye on the shadows. And if you see a shortcut on a lonely road, take the long way home. Happy New Year.